Blessings all. Welcome to the Men's Healing Network podcast, where we explore the many ways men are finding healing, connection, and a fuller of experience of our shared humanity. Each episode begins with an invitation. One man invites another into conversation, someone who has shaped his understanding of healing, brotherhood, or what it means to move through the world as a man. For this conversation, Roddy McDowell invited his friend Dan Dantzic. Roddy is a commercial airline pilot and former Navy pilot whose experiences serving on a military honor guard and guiding veterans through VA hospital visits led him toward a deeper calling. He earned a master's degree in social work from NYU and trained in trauma, cognitive behavioral therapy, somatic work, and everyman facilitation. Today, he coaches and facilitates groups of men shaped by the same mission-focused, go-it-alone culture he knows firsthand. A culture that can teach men to mistake performance for worth and providing for love. Roddy does not approach his work as someone standing outside that culture, but as a man continuing to do his own healing alongside the men he serves. Dan is a father, brother, and friend who divides his time between New York City and the Hudson Valley. After 30 years in technology, he stepped away from that career following his youngest child's college graduation. As he encouraged his children to pursue their passions, he realized it was time to take his own advice. Now he is asking what he would do if he could do anything, and exploring opportunities to serve abroad, measuring success by his work's impact on individuals. In this episode, Roddy and Dan offer us a window into a friendship grounded in curiosity, honesty, challenge, and deep care. They explore what it means to listen to the body, treat emotions as information, ask for and receive support, and create relationships in which men can be fully known. Their conversation reminds us that healing does not always come through advice or answers. Sometimes it begins when a person is willing to meet us where we are, sit beside us, and say, "I'm here, brother. You don't have to do this alone." This conversation moved me deeply, and I believe it will move you too. Here is my conversation with Roddy McDowell, and Dan Dantzic. Welcome to the Men's Healing Network podcast. Through this service and this work, MHN has offered me a glorious, nourishing opportunity for relationships. And meeting you, Michael, along this journey has been so rich. The conversations we've had about your experience from the military to therapy, very intriguing to me. And I'm so grateful that you've joined us today. And my first question for you to kick us off is to share why you invited Dan.
There's so much there, Vincent. I think about the transformational experiences I've had in my life where Dan was in the midst, and then we had more time where we were in the midst, and we were having a conversation today of like, when did we become the friends that we are? And I think that in and of itself is transformational, of just asking when did it happen, because it wasn't just one thing. Dan is a fantastic human being. He's a great man, and I consider him a brother. And I have many brothers, and I can think of so many of them, but my first thought was to have Dan here. I just think that the ease in which we relate to one another and the breadth and the depth of what we share. He's a great thought partner and a great friend partner just to have on the path, to have on the journey.
Thank you so much. What I love about this project is the invitation, that it goes so far and so critical. And so here we are, Dan. I'm going to kick off with a big question for you, for the Men's Healing Network, and that word healing was very intentional. And so what does men's healing mean to you?
So as I think about that, right, I almost have to separate the two words, right, which is what does it mean to be a man? And I don't have a single definition. And I think about what does society teach us to be as a man? What was the model that I had being a man, knowing that I had a weaker relationship with my father and then also no grandfathers. So I saw external versions of what I thought a man was. And then for me, what it is it's trying to, one, really get comfortable in what it means to be a man. And for any definition in which I create, or which I not create, but understand it to be, right? And so I often have a litmus test for my behavior or the way that I show up in the world, which is this the man that I want to be? And it's not a single set of words that defines that. It's just a felt sense of, yep, this feels right. And so what this men's healing is, it's those things that support me to be able to act as the man that I want to be.
Thank you. I appreciate that you invite a question, right? What does it mean to be a man? And that leads everything. I'm curious, Michael, what resonates with Dan's answer, or where does your own answer go?
Yeah, I think the answer is to not question, but to continually be curious. For me, I want to know first and foremost, what is it to be human? And then when I've figured out what is universally human, then I go and maybe define and have thought partners, emotional partners in my life. Dan is one of them. I think of many of my brothers, and figuring out what that is to be a human man. And I don't necessarily want to define it. It's not fixed, right? But it's not fiercely or firmly defined. There's no older version or newer version. It's just like our version, and what can we decide what it is? What does the moment call for? Does the moment call for a fierce protector, or does it call for a tender guide? And what of that is towards me? Do I need to fiercely protect myself, and do I need to tenderly guide myself? And when I'm not sure, because I have other men that are also in that curious inquiry about what it is, then I discover what I need in that moment. And the more I practice that, the more I'm healed, I would say, into discovering what it is. And there's no final moment when we're healed. It's a healing process, just as your men's healing network. I don't think that I arrive at some place of what man is finally, because what is man? If I happen to live to 90 years old, what is 90-year-old man compared to what is 57-year-old man?
You named two things in there, the relationship to self and just being in relation to others. I'm curious for you, Dan, in terms of relationship to self, how did you know you needed something? How did you know you needed healing? If that's even the right question to think about, right? Or how did you connect to yourself?
Something was occurring in my life. I mean, I do know the specific moment in time. I don't know what the date is anymore. But those things at which I had defined myself, being a father was one of the most important things in my life. And because I didn't have the relationship with my father that I wanted to, I had committed myself to a certain way. My kids had become teenagers, and so the definition of what it meant to be a father dramatically changed. At the same time, my mother actually had Alzheimer's, and so our relationship changed. So as a person, as a human, all of a sudden my identity had been rolled over. I think the third was I had a relationship with my now ex-wife where she was my everything. She was my best friend. She was my lover. She was my consigliere. She was everything. And no one human can carry all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would put those all in a basket and say, I hit my bottom. I happened to hit my bottom close to COVID, and we decided to separate. And so there was a little bit of healing, or a little bit of, I need something. I don't know what it is, but I need to change what's happening for me. So that's where I found it. I found a need to do something different, because therapy or couples therapy, like something wasn't clicking, and I needed some new model. So that has taken me on quite a journey through some organizations of men's work, through retreats. I would say redefining a lot of what it means to be a human walking around. I mean, the thought that comes to mind is like intimacy doesn't equal sex was a really big, right? Like, oh, I can get intimacy is this relationship that I have with a man. I don't know that I would have ever said that 7-8 years ago. And I had this experience in which, again, my identity was challenged, and it led me down a path to say, what do I need to do for myself in community and in other places in order to be the man that I want to be, or be the human that I want to become?
Thank you for naming intimacy, in particular between men, because you're also identifying our roles, right? Son, father, husband, and these kinds of personas even our culture gives us. I'm curious for you, Michael, what about men's intimacy? He's naming it with you. How do you explore that? Where does that lead you?
Well, I heard you say roles, Vincent. And, one of the things that I think about is really good actors. It's like, what does this moment call for? If I am a fully integrated and comprehensive human man, starting with human because to love is human, it's not gendered, right? So, when I think of Dan, when I think of other brothers in my life and sisters, of which I'm developing more sisterhood, of that having that intimacy, of that depth and breadth of love and care and support in life, I think, what does this moment call for? What role am I in? If I'm a fully fledged human actor, if you will, when I go visit my dad, what does that moment call for? I'm still son, but I'm also man. So I bring in all those different characteristics. I bring in the experience of what I know from Dan as being a father is to understand, well, my dad is a father. I'm not a father, but maybe I can get something from understanding Dan's fatherhood journey to understanding my dad's own fatherhood journey, even if he doesn't share that with me, right? So I may not necessarily know that, but I can be with him in a way, and I can ask him questions, and I can be curious and hold more understanding and curiosity for what does this moment call for. And so I don't want to be stuck in a role. I don't want to be my vocation. I don't want to be my profession, because even in my profession, what that moment might call for is to be silent, right? Or that moment may call for speaking up and saying something with clarity because it's an emergency, or saying something with tenderness and understanding and compassion for all the people that I'm talking to.
As I consider this frame of meeting the moment that you're offering, of hardship, I mean, it's kind of what I have been leaning into and really thinking about. Life is filled with hardship. So how are we prepared to deal with the stuff that comes our way? Is there anything that has helped you, like, in the discernment around meeting the moment?
I think it's practice. I think it's thought partners where I'm not just in my thoughts, I'm in my feelings and my emotions. Even today with Dan, allowing emotions to rise up, I had some more clarity about what was actually happening for me. But if I didn't allow myself to sense in my body and feel what was happening, I may not have reached a different aspect of what is this human experience, because I would have only been thinking about it. And so now that I have that experience, and him not fixing it, but being there as somebody who's like, well, what's happening for you right now? Or this is what I'm hearing you say, that I might get more clarity. So it is a thought partner, but it's also a feeling partner, because if he has some sense of what he might be experiencing in that same event and what's happening between us, he might say, well, this is what I'm noticing in myself right now. And then I mirror neurons or whatever's happening and go, oh, well, that's not true for me, or that is true for me. And so now I'm not alone. And then when I go out into the world and my brother isn't there, I'm just with community. What is my capacity? What is my agility and my flexibility to meet that moment? Because I've had workout partners, right? They stretch me, I stretch them. And so I have a flexibility and agility to be in the world in a different way.
I'm curious, Dan, how has knowing Michael helped you prepare? Because he's offering that you have been a mirror for him. I like that you say also emotional thought partner, emotional partner. And I would also even add like a spirit partner, like there was a spiritual connection and exchange, not transactional, but like nourishing back and forth. Like we're both kind of watering each other's green life that's budding up and getting stronger. Dan, you mentioned there's some hardship you faced very recently. And so I'm curious what that mirroring or that kind of partnership has offered you and what you've brought to the table in terms of just how to deal with it.
So one, I just want to echo. I don't want to call it a thought partner or spiritual, like it's a partner, right? And not one person has to be all those things, but it is easier to do things together than do it alone. And then what does it mean to have Michael there? It's a place to go where it's safe. I'm not sure that there's anything that I can say. I mean, we haven't had our first fight.
We joke about it. It's like, is this our first fight? I'm like, yeah, I think it is, man.
But, there hasn't been yet anything that I could say that makes him go, ugh, like just go away. And so that ability to externalize, and I do believe, one, if I'm just in my head and thinking about something, it's repeating. There's one thing to externalize it onto paper, and that is helpful. And then it's another level to be able to share that part of me that I'm not sure, right? I want to put it out in the world and I want to be able to look at it. And here's a person where I can go and say, I'm going to have this thought and I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this thought, but let me just go put it out there so that we can look at it, so that I can explore it. And it is that space, that place, and then you're not alone with it.
You're not alone with it. It sounds like collaboration.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because there's like collaboration, there's mirror. I mean, there's an expression of, how do you want me to show up? I think a New York Times article of, do you want me to help? Do you want to be heard? Do you want me to be helped? Do you want to be hugged? Do you empower the other person to say, how do you want me to show up for you? Because I can help you brainstorm this, or I can just be a listener, or maybe you just need to be comforted. And so let me comfort you.
Thank you. What's resonating with you, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's attunement. I would love to be able to go to Dan or any of my brothers and just, figure me out, figure out what I need, because I don't even know what I need. And I know Dan has said this to me and I've said this to Dan is I don't know what I need right now, but I'm just going to vent. I'm just going to say stuff and figuring it out. And he's holding a practical content of what I'm sharing, but he's also holding an emotional content of what I'm sharing. And I think even an identity, because Charles Duhigg is the super communicator who spoke about this. Help, heard, hug, but also these different types of conversations. And I'd love for Dan to be attuned to me. I'd love for me to be attuned to me sometimes because, I don't know what's going on, but sometimes I'll externalize just like Dan said, and he'll be like, it sounds like this might be going on. And because I know how much he cares for me, how much he loves me, he wants the best outcome for me, that he's like, well, this is what I'm hearing. And that in and of itself is healing of that moment, right? Because I may be bumped and bruised by life, just road rash. I ride bikes, so I know what road rash is. But somehow or another, just his acknowledging that I crashed and I had road rash heals me and allows me to get back up on my bike and start pedaling and keep going in life, because he has an attunement to me or I have attunement to him. And that takes a while. That takes 5-minute conversations over a span of a year or 5 or 6 years. It takes time of me making myself available to hearing the things even I don't want to hear about myself, but having somebody that can hear it. It's like, I still love you. I still care about you. Right? Ah, man, really? Can you? Because I'm having a hard time loving and caring about myself. Yeah, I hear you, brother. It's hard to love and care about yourself, but I love and care about you.
Thank you. The words attunement, I don't know, there's something very rich for me in that. And you both mentioned, right, it's also multiple relationships, right? That one person is not going to be the everything. I'm hearing you say that very much. What are the skills, and if we get real practical, what are you developing? Are there particular approaches that have helped you grow that capacity for attunement? And I'll give that to either one of you.
So where I would start is in taking care of myself, right? So I don't know who I heard it from, but so somebody said, when somebody is reacting or coming with big emotion, I'm having a reaction. The first thing that I have to do is settle myself down and know that I'm safe and that I'm comfortable and that I'm okay, so that there's a foundation in which I can then hold this other person, right? Like somebody's falling over and I'm falling, I'm not much help to them. But if I'm stable and they're falling, I may be able to catch them. And then I would talk about my own routines or practices, right? Like there's fertile soil, right? Which is like you take care of your basic needs first, which is sleep, eat, move, meditate, pray. Only from there can you build a good foundation or a big tree. I think about those two things, which again, right, it's about me starting from a position of stability and strength so that again, I can then really see the other person and not feel threatened. That's where I would start.
Yeah, so I'm envious of Dan's practices, and after this conversation, I'm going to go back to him and say, hey, remember I told you I wanted you to kick my ass about some of the things that you've been implementing in your life I haven't been doing in mine. I'm like, none of them. I'm like, well, geez, dude, let's get going. But I'm a systems thinker, so I think of different systems in a way that I know and experience the world. We are not cognitive beings having an emotional experience, emotion or sensing experience. We are sensing, feeling beings having a cognitive experience. It goes in that order. And so, yeah, sometimes my thinking helps me to go into what are the sensations in my body, very body aware. One of the things that I do, I can look at instrumentation and know in my body, I can feel in my body before the instrument even tells me what's happening with this craft that I'm in. So as I overlay that into myself and doing this body awareness, what's happening in my body? There's a lot of stuff happening in there. What's the emotion? I take that as information. Some of it is I need to be in it and live it. But if I just stay there, then I'm not moving. I'm not a person of action. So I look at it as a superhighway or a T3 line that's running back and forth. But I typically will start in the body. What's happening in my body? What's happening in my emotion? And then this other way of knowing, which is beyond my thinking, my sensing, and my feeling, is what I call spirit. What's the bigger thing that connects us all? What is it about the 2,500 miles of distance between where Dan lives and where I live that space just closes down? It's like there's nothing there. That's, to me, is spirit. And spirit is also, for me, a lot of that is the outside, but also like what connects each of us, and that sort of mystery. So a different way of experiencing, but also a different way of knowing.
You're naming, especially right, the body. I feel like the older I get, the more I realize how critical our nervous system is to our existence and experience and relationships and perceptions and so much. So I'm curious for you, Dan, if Michael's looking to you for like, hey, what are the practices? How are you like cultivating that? With so many messages about don't, right? Push it down, suppress it, repress it. All of the, what Tony Porter calls about the man box, right? Man up and ignore those very real, eternal experiences. If you could offer men in the world some kind of clarity around being a whole, right? And accessing those parts of yourself. Where's that? Where do you go? How do you go? So I think I'm back to still more of some of this kinds of what are the practices?
Actually, how I began to access my emotions was somebody said, okay, well, if you don't want to talk about your emotions, like, can you tell me how you feel in your body? Okay, like, there's nothing shameful. Nobody has ever told me, like, oh, I have tightness in my chest. So it was easy for me to do that. And then that same place told me, okay, there's 5 emotions. Like, we're just going to simplify this. Don't try to over explain it. Make it simple. And so both of those were on ramps for me. And then the second thing is that this emotional experience is information, right? In fact, we were having a conversation, Michael and I, today about there's somebody I know. And so I was feeling envy because of the way that they were talking about their relationship with their wife and their kids and their career and their physical conditioning and everything. And I personally have never found it helpful to compare myself to another. But the question wasn't, how do I compare myself to them? It's in these areas of my life, how am I doing in my relationship with my partner? How am I doing in my relationship with my kids? What is my relationship like with my friends? So the checkbox is to go there and say, how am I doing? And objectively, not even compare myself to me, because again, those things are better and worse on a given day, right? It's not like every day is a great day for my relationship with my kids, or every day is a great day for a relationship with my friends. But overall, how's it going? And then, here's something that I can go work on very practically, right? So if I don't like my career, like, okay, so what don't I like about, what action do I want to take, which is within my control? And so if you get down to practical, right, those are the questions that I'm asking myself. Somebody once gave me the analogy of, I think it's in Taekwondo, like 4 people attack you at one time. You can't fight off 4 people at one time. You can only put 3 at bay and challenge 1. And so don't try to do everything at the same time. Like, look at what's happening around you. What do you want to go work on? And then go work on that and just keep these other things balanced. And I kind of love that analogy.
Makes me want to say, I'm going to run. But there's something around when I'm receiving the honesty, self-honesty. For me, one of the hardest things I've done as a man is actually be honest with myself. I mean, truly, critically, like to unearth that, especially with answers and things I don't want to face. I don't have a lot of examples of what that looks like, or even how to do that. So I'm curious for you, Michael, is there anything for our listeners, for men out there, like if you want to ensure there's a clear message around that? Because for me, it would be self-honesty. Let's figure out how to do that. Is there anything for you that's like really poignant or gives you clarity about where to explore or what to investigate or unearth?
First, I want to say to anybody listening out there, brother, yes, brother, you are already whole and you are not broken. Mm-hmm. And some days I need to remind myself of that. And maybe I'm doing that right now. Mm-hmm. So I do like a strategy. I like what Dan was thinking there with the Taekwondo. One must have a strategy. And the first strategy is, I think, finding somebody where you don't have to do all of it at once, but just a little. I don't think that this is a big construction project. You want to unearth something. It's an archaeological dig where we have to find those places where, okay, this is a place where I can go, but I have to proceed tenderly because I may stumble upon something and unearth it by myself, and that is no way to go through life by yourself. So again, brother, don't do this alone, and find yourself a moment where you have that built-in trust. Already have a rapport with somebody, and you say to them, you just decide to go first. Like, I'm having a really hard day and I don't know what it is. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to hear me, and maybe something will come out of you hearing me, and maybe I need a hug, whether it's virtual or real. And yeah, I get it. At the end of the day, we need some practical stuff. We need some practical direction. And if somebody's got our back, we can take that direction. And maybe it doesn't turn out the way we had hoped it to, but we can repair and keep going. I don't know if that answers the question, but I'd say the biggest thing is you're not alone, brother. And I think there's a lot of men that are out there and they're on the trail. Doesn't matter where they are on the trail. Maybe you think they're farther down the trail than you are. Doesn't matter where they are. They're on the trail. And I know for me, and I have the sense from you, Vincent, that if somebody reaches out a hand, there's going to be another hand to grab back and help them up.
And I'm finding in this life that especially when you want to isolate, that's the cue to reach out. Especially when you want to kind of go and ball up. So thanks for naming that. This connection piece. It's so hard. It's so hard to ask for help and maybe even the word help is not the right word. I mean, I think that turns a lot of men off itself. But for me personally, I think there's three components. There's to even be aware and notice, oh my goodness, I need some help. And then 2, to reach out and ask. But 3, to receive it.
That was the hardest thing, was to receive. And I think there's something about, if you really knew this about me, that I need help right now, that you wouldn't like me. And I think there's another piece of how it's not help. I think it's being with. Like, there's this image of the man is down on the ground. And I'm not standing there saying, hey, get up. I get down there on the ground with him and say, hey, I'm here, brother. What's happening? I don't know. Tell me where it hurts, bro. I don't know. Okay. Well, I'll just sit here on the ground with you where you are at your level, all the way prone on the ground. And then just even that presence in and of itself provides a physical, emotional, spiritual, cognitive strength. And then he begins to get up on one knee. Like, you check in with him. It's like, where's the strength? Where's your strength right now? I feel it in my right leg. I'm like, all right, I will stand on your left side and you push up with your right leg. He needs to feel like he's doing something too. And I think that's where the help part gets in the way. And even if you can't push with your left leg, right arm, any part of you, I will stay down here with you. And we'll call in some other brothers. Because it doesn't just need to be you. It doesn't just need to be me. Let's go.
That's moving me, man. That's really touching. Like, whoo. Maybe it's not collaboration. It's companionship. I feel this in my body. There's something. Wow, thank you for that. Where does that take you, Dan?
I mean, the expression, and it is something that Michael has yelled at me in the past is like, don't do this
Oh man.
alone. Like, really gotten angry with me when I try to carry it by myself. You don't need to, right? And so it's not just something that he's saying here, right? It's something that he believes. Sometimes we need to be pushed to do the thing that's hard. And so that can be part of the support.
Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah,
So Dan,
hells yeah,
because I
definitely.
know Vincent's up in the Pacific Northwest. He's up in Washington, and I'm just thinking of a time. May I share this story that I was having? I was up in Seattle.
Sure.
There's this wetness behind my eyes and this sensation in my heart space and my throat. That's information that tells me how much I care about this fucking man. He's in New York. I'm in Seattle, or I think it was Bellevue. And he was sharing something about what he did, what he'd been doing, what he had accomplished, the effort he'd been putting in. And I said, hey man, I'm proud of you. He's like, whatever. I was like, fuck you. I am not fucking blowing smoke up your ass, brother. Fuck you. Don't push that away, because I don't blow smoke up your ass. That shit came from my heart. He's like, all right, brother. Thank you. I received that.
Fuck you with love. That's something about, like, it is a true expression of love, right?
What's coming for you, Danny?
So, I mean, two things come up for me, right? Which is you can even be an asshole and be helpful. Like, are you doing it with intention is what I would say, right? Like, I'm doing this with intention because I see something in you that you don't even see in yourself. That's what I was reading from what, sorry, what Roddy was telling me.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to call him Michael. But the other thing that is occurring to me around this thing of asking for help, and this literally happened this week, which is there's a 75-year-old man who lives in the building that my partner lives in, and he was dizzy, and he asked a couple people for help, and he was at the bus stop, and this guy's fit as a 75-year-old can be, and he knew he needed help, and he asked two people for help, and they were like, yeah, whatever. And my partner happened to come across and, how are you doing? I'm not feeling right. And so she called me and said, he's bigger than she is. And if he falls, I need help. Can you come? And so we were there. And the entire time that we walked with him, he was apologizing to us for needing help. And so it was so telling, which is he knew he needed help and he was feeling, and my word, shame for needing help, like apologizing that he was taking up our time. That's his experience. I can't tell him not to feel that way. And at the same time, how do I reassure him that this is actually helpful for me to be able to help another? Like, I enjoy the opportunity to be useful in any way that I can be. And this is very clear, right? Like, somebody needs somebody to walk by their side while they walk one block. I'm happy to do that, right? Because I get to tick the useful box and there was nothing else that I had to do at that moment. I was available. And so I think about that as we're talking about this, asking for help and the push-pull of knowing I need help and feeling embarrassed that I need help. And certainly I would say, as a 75-year-old man who he still goes to work every day, he still coaches football, it is important for him to be on his own 2 feet and not to need anybody to support him.
I feel like this is coming around full circle because you both started with like our wholeness, our humanity, and how human is it to need, as like a basic human needs. But as men, the idea of having needs and being needy is somehow wrong, is somehow shameful. But giving and receiving in that need both gives us purpose. So that's kind of fascinating to me that here we are coming back around to living out that wholeness, that humanity. So thank you for this conversation. On the way out here, is there any gratitude in particular you want to share? Obviously, I sense it. I feel it here, even through the screen with each other. But as we close, something about closing and gratitude has always felt really grounding to me. And I'd like to give you an opportunity for that.
Yeah, I'll start by saying thanks, man. I'm grateful to you, Vincent, and what it is that you're doing. I'm grateful for this time, this moment to actually intentionally sit down and have this conversation and be curious and explore what it is. I'd say also to all the men I have met and encountered, I'm grateful to you, man. I'm grateful to you, brother. You helped me on my journey, and I know I helped you. And I want to thank myself for being courageous enough to jump and just allow life to catch me. It's not any one particular person, but just allow life to catch me and put me on my own feet, that I have agency and autonomy. And when I don't, to receive and be grateful. And what's up, Dan? I'm grateful for you, brother.
Yeah, close us out.
Thank you, brother. I'm grateful for this opportunity. This is an edge for me. So today, Roddy and I actually went base jumping. And as we were driving back here, what I said is, I'm more afraid of showing up on this podcast and trying to speak in public or where somebody else might see me than in jumping off that cliff today. So this is an opportunity for me. And part of that comes from, what does Dan have to say that anybody would actually want to listen to? And so grateful for the opportunity to listen to myself and go, I actually have some tools and there's something that happened and I have something to share with the world. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for Roddy, grateful that, I found this human that, right, I can show up and I know that I'm going to be accepted and loved and have these transformational experiences right here, right? So this is healing. This is transformation. This is something, right? I mean, sometimes what they say is just be grateful for the simple things. And, I'm grateful to be alive.
Thank you for meeting your edge. Thank you both for bringing your hearts. This has truly been an impactful experience for me, just this short time. Thank you. Blessings. Thank you to Roddy and Dan for showing us what it looks like when men choose to meet one another with honesty, curiosity, challenge, and love. Their conversation reminds us that healing does not always mean having the right answer or knowing how to fix what hurts. Sometimes healing begins when someone is willing to sit beside us, help us find our strength, and remind us that we do not have to carry everything alone. This is a second to last episode of the Men's Healing Network podcast. As we approach our season finale, I'm filled with gratitude for every guest who has trusted us with their story and for every listener who has joined us in exploring what healing can look like in the lives and relationships of men. Special thanks to Tom Kepler for producing this podcast and Dee Enriquez for her marketing assistance. We would also like to thank Choice Regional Health Network for supporting this season and believing in the importance of this work. If this conversation moved you, please share it with someone who may need to hear that he is not alone. And join us next time for the season finale of the Men's Healing Network podcast. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of one another. Blessings to you and yours.